the ICC, the International Criminal Court prosecutors, on the ground in Ukraine, except for a big problem. Neither Ukraine nor Russia,
nor the United States,
nor the U.S. and some other major superpowers around the world, China, are members of the International Criminal Court. They have not ceded jurisdiction over their country's actions to the court.
What is happening in Russia? I think there are war crimes that are being committed. The act itself. But that doesn't mean the International Criminal Court is the place for that to be adjudicated.
You could see in the images how you could build this case. The problem is not really building the case. It's never been the problem with trying to prosecute war crimes. The issue has been, and the U.S. has been at the lead of this, most countries who are engaged in conflict on a more regular basis because of their standing in the world don't sign on to any of these treaties that allow international criminal courts any jurisdiction over their actions. And that's because, think about the U.S. We've engaged in two massive, long wars that just finished Afghanistan and Iraq. They still try to get at you. They still try to get U.S. soldiers through the ICC.
Getting jurisdiction is a totally different matter, and the Office of the Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has said he's on the ground. Karim Khan, who is a Queen's Counselor, who is the new prosecutor succeeding the previous one, Bensouda, and he is in Ukraine claiming that he has jurisdiction in the pretrial chamber to which the case has been referred, because he can claim he has jurisdiction, but then in order to get the go-ahead, he's got to go to the pretrial chamber, which consists of 3 judges at the International Criminal Court at The Hague, where you argued, Jay, and then they have to give him the authority to proceed further.
There is a procedure, and this has never been done before, and this is why our team looks at this stuff, folks, where the General Assembly could recommend and the Security Council could vote a referral to the ICC directly to non-parties to the Rome Statute. It has to go through the Security Council. But Russia technically, Andy, which could veto this because they're on the Security Council, has to abstain.
It needs a supermajority, which is 9 out of 15, and none of the permanent members would be permitted to oppose it if that were the case. But if you look at the UN Charter, Article 27 of the UN Charter says that a party to a dispute shall, not may or ought to, but shall abstain from voting.
What's important there then would be the role of China. China abstained from the vote on the censure at the General Assembly of the Russian actions.
That was a big deal.
But they would be under tremendous pressure from Russia to try and veto this. And I could see a situation where China steps up and says no, because they want to invade Taiwan and they want to take Taiwan, whether they do that now, whether they do that in 2 years, whether it's 5 years, but they like the idea of having that. And they're going to look very carefully and say, well, you know what? This could happen to us.
Ukraine is now challenging, this is, I find fascinating, whether Russia should be on the Security Council at all, because the breakup of they were put on the Security Council, Andy, when it was a different country.
That's
the Soviet Union.
And when that broke up in the 80s and 90s, the Russian Federation sort of acceded or stepped into the shoes of the USSR and ascended to the USSR seat based on a decision made by the UN Office of Legal Affairs. And I wonder if they really had the authority to do that.
So when you get to the point of the ICC getting involved and war crimes being committed, you're talking about thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people dying, a complete destruction of a nation.
Look at this.
And their leaders. So you really hope we don't get to this point. So the rah-rah on TV of the side-by-side between see the Ukrainian resistance and also we're going to prosecute Putin for war crimes, it doesn't go together. If he gets prosecuted for war crimes, likely everyone you're talking about in the Ukrainian resistance has been killed. So we don't want to get to that point. The world needs to be working how to stop this now, not how to rely on international courts that have been weak at best.